But so I had you on today because you just published a second novel.
Well, the first one was a memoir, and this one is a novel.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. So we could talk about that difference.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
when we met in 2010 or 11, you were working on the memoir. And what was the
yeah.
name of that? Remind
That
me
one,
that.
that one is called Pandora Learns to Sing, and that
That's
got
right.
published in 2015. That's been out in the world for a while. And with you, I think it was with you that I began the seed of this novel.
I've Oh, this one? Really? The
Yeah,
Leonardo da Vinci.
yeah, because what happened was, and I just wrote a little bit about it. I was at my mom's house. All my boxes were destroyed in a flood, and everything was destroyed except one diary. I had boxes and boxes of diaries, letters. Remember the blue airmail letters that we used to write our
Oh, yes.
boyfriends? And I
They
was
were
in
one sheet and you
one
licked
sheet.
down the edges and folded it. Yeah, they were cool.
Right, right. So all of that was destroyed, but one diary was like blessed, was shining with little sparkles around it. And I took that back with me to Berlin. I read it on the plane. And I think like the week later was your first, I had just started thinking I have to write a book. I don't know what I'm going to write, but
Wow.
I started writing something. And I mean, it went through a million different versions and different
Oh,
editors I
move
worked
back
with.
just a little so I can see you. Yeah, that's great.
Is better? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry if it's
And
moving
hold
too
and
much.
hold up the book so we can see the title. It's called The Sinking of the Leonardo da Vinci. Lovely. Great. So that's really interesting that it started as a journal and you
Well,
fictionalized it.
it started from a journal.
Mm-hmm.
I had also some years before that. I don't know if you remember. I'm a teacher of Alexander technique
Oh,
and
yeah.
voice. So I was at a conference, and what was in this diary was about a big love that I had that I met on a cruise ship, the Leonardo da Vinci, when I was very young and working as
That's
a travel agent.
unbelievable. Well, no, wait, let's paint the scene. What are you doing on the cruise ship? Are you teaching? Are you
No, no, no.
performing?
I'm young. I'm still at NYU studying to be a musician, music therapist, teacher, and so on. I'm not an Alexander Technique teacher yet, but I fall madly in love with somebody on this cruise ship. And I
An
won't tell.
Italian? An American?
Very much in Italian. We hardly had any language. I think I could say pizza or basta or grazie. I think that was the extent of my Italian, and he had a few more words, but we had a very strong feeling, and it was beyond a shipboard romance. So the ship came in every 11 days, and I was living in New York, and I would go see him.
Oh, wait, so he's working on the ship or no?
He was working. I mean, this was 1976. He was working on the ship. Yeah, he was
So
the
every
navigator.
11 days he would come into port and you would go down and have this is so great.
I would have some spaghetti, let's say, a little bit before and a little bit after the spaghetti. And I was drinking then, so we would have a lot of champagne and so on. Yeah, and it was a secret. Yeah, and then it was, this was a long time ago. Anyway, as I was saying, so as a Alexander teacher, I went to a conference a few years before I met you, and I found out that that ship that I had been on actually sunk off the coast of Cinque Terre area. And
Oh,
and
oh, wow.
I know, so
What a
I
place
just
to sink too. Like
I know you would
things
think,
don't
right?
sink there.
Right. The book is not really about what really happened with the boat. So, I had this idea to try to work on a cruise line with this book. And my brother said, but it has sinking in the title. So I have to find a way to make sure, because the story is really not about being on a boat that sinks. It's more a metaphor, because I have a lot of climate change in this story, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's a little more of a metaphor than actually the ship sinking.
What
Um,
year do you think it sunk? Was it in the 80s then?
in the 80s. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, way before. I mean, it was too far for me to swim out and see if my old true love was on board, but he wasn't. He wasn't. Actually, he wasn't. He wasn't. Yeah. I
No,
mean, I
wait,
run.
you hear about the sinking when you are near the ship?
That's right.
No.
Yeah, yeah. So between finding the diary and hearing about the ship, I had one of those where your whole body goes into like shivers and waves, where like 20 ghosts are like moving into your bones. And, and uh-oh, I have to write a book about this.
Well, yeah, it's sort of made for your life. Well, your whole life is kind of made for a book because tell us where you are now. Are you back in Oslo?
I'm in Oslo. I'm actually I'm behind the King's Palace. So there's a very beautiful garden here in Oslo. Yeah, and it's not raining. So it was raining this morning. So yeah, it's really
Still
beautiful. And
raining here. But oh yeah, so
uh,
that's a very rare sunny day in Oslo.
well, yeah, I mean it depends. I have a feeling it's going to be a good summer. Last summer it rained a lot. They have
Do you
jokes here that what do you do for Tuesday for summer? Like summer could be one day. So
Okay.
right, right, right. No, but I think it's going to be a good summer.
So the trade-off in Oslo is between the darkness and the rain is just like the best um, healthcare and
Right.
social system in the entire world, right? You never have to worry, can I go to the doctor? Can I, it's just amazing, right?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean, I know some people have had unlucky, sorry about the moving, but I was very lucky with my recent, I broke my arm in the ice of winter here, and but I was well taken care of, very well taken care of. So yeah, and that arm is better. I can move it now.
Yay. And can you
Yeah.
play again?
Slowly. So I was
Okay.
playing a little bit today. I was making some little YouTubes to welcome my book into the world. But just back to you, Kara. So, because I know I'm a bit of a wandering, Mary
Well,
Poppins.
no, I mean, this is actually how it works. I mean, we want to talk about you and your book, but also, yeah, how we met, how we
So,
were.
so I was with you in this little writers course. I think we were like 3 or 4 people. And my book was really terrible at the beginning because I really had no idea how I was going to make it into a story. But it began with you. And that's how I know. It began with you. And I had that burning sensation that I have to follow this. I have to find
It's
what
so
the
funny
story
because
is.
I call it heat or fire as well. When I'm working on something and it begins to be an alive thing and not just a thing that I'm making, that something happens, you feel
Right.
this heat. And it's down in near your gut, right? Or your
Mhm.
solar
Yeah.
plexus. And
Right.
you just feel like this urgency. And
Yeah.
it's kind of a madness that writers and artists have. Like, why do this?
Absolutely. I mean, really, really and truly. But on the other hand, like for example, I was 5 years into the story. I had come up with I mean, part of it I took from my own diary. So it's a braided story. But then I
Okay.
had to come up with like the main story, like who are the characters? You take I did take some of it from me, but then I wanted to take it beyond me. Like what
So,
if I had
as
stayed
far
in New
as the
York?
structure, did you have that kind of built in from the journal? So you're like, okay, I know this thing, and then now I can play with it, or
No, the structure
okay,
changed 1,000
yeah,
times.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Every editor that I would work with would come with a new suggestion. Like, have you thought of why don't you
right,
start the story here? Why don't
right.
you, and it kept changing until I really came up with the idea of braiding it. Yeah.
Okay, meaning time wise, like there's one
Yeah.
time frame. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's two stories that, right from the beginning, there's Cinque Terre 2002, and there's New York from 1976.
So you're starting with the sinking basically, and then you go back to all this.
No, no,
Oh,
the sinking comes much later in the book.
okay, okay.
Again,
I don't want to ruin it.
it's not really about the sinking.
Okay, I know,
So
I know.
now I like the title, but because I had it always in my head what the metaphor means, and I don't want to give it away because it does come at a
Yeah.
really good part of the book.
No, it's a
Um,
great title. It really is. It makes me
yeah,
want to read it. Yeah.
So
And your
it's
first book was this memoir about this. Well, we have to say because you have this fascinating life in music and
so that
movement and dance. You were, when I met you in Berlin, you were still doing these nighttime tango things. You would go out at like
right.
10 o'clock and you would dance tango all night, and your husband, your Norwegian husband, was
Well,
okay with it.
well, he's actually Dutch, and the Dutch are very okay
Dutch.
with everything. He's
Oh,
he,
the Dutch are
I
okay
don't
with
know.
everything.
I mean, by now we both have Norwegian passports, but he was born in Netherlands, and yeah, his thing was like, as long as I didn't go home with anybody, as
Yeah,
long as I danced with everyone and not just one man the whole
you're
night,
right, right.
it was okay. That was okay. Yeah, I was
But
dancing
you were
tango. I was
teaching,
singing
we did a
Alexander.
little bit of that together,
Yeah,
that you were
yeah.
teaching me the movements, and then I
That
went
was
to see you perform,
yeah. I was
singing and
singing a lot.
playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was teaching Alexander technique and tango a lot at that in those days. I was teaching at a lot of tango camps around Berlin. Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
had
And
spent some years in Argentina, and that's where you got so sick.
I got sick. Yes, I got sick one of the times when I was on my way to Argentina. I never like to fly, and it's a very long, choppy flight from, yeah, because you cross some water. And anyway, I took some Xanax, which I didn't know, but can really go bad. Once in a
Oh,
thousand cases.
okay.
I actually met another tango friend from Finland who had the same thing. She was going back from Buenos Aires to New York, and she got it on that plane. Anyway,
So
I was on my way
tango
to.
dancers don't mix Xanax with your tango. It
You
could
shouldn't.
have bad results,
It
yeah.
could have bad results. So I
But
was
it
on
could
my
also
way.
be great.
I was on my way to Buenos Aires, and the Xanax wasn't working. So unfortunately, I took a couple of more. So I almost killed
Ah,
myself by accident, really by
oh,
accident. Yeah,
shit.
yeah, so I
Okay.
arrived and I looked like a leper because it had kind of sprung this weird, rash across my whole body.
Yes.
So I was in the hospital, and the brilliant thing about having that happen on the way to Buenos Aires was in Buenos Aires, they have more therapists than anywhere else in the world. I didn't know that. And so I
Yeah,
I
you
had to
had
work
some real healers there, right? A woman who was a
real
real
healers.
healer.
Yeah, yeah, and this guy Alberto who did, yoga and shiatsu and had a touch to die for. So they took care of me. I had like another mother and father, like many people, yeah, who have had a, let's call it a interesting childhood, right? Who was it? The writer of Angela's Ashes. Um, oh, you know who I mean? The
McCourt, Frank
Right.
McCourt.
He says the happy childhood is hardly worth your while. Well, I certainly didn't have one. And yeah, and all that stuff kind of can burp up in you later in life. So I had Ana, this therapist in Buenos Aires, and Alberto that were like my loving, unconditionally caring parents that I never had. And I was really, really healed. And it really helped me to sing with much more freedom. So that book, that memoir was called Pandora Learns to Sing because, I had so much fear, even though I was performing. Sorry, it's moving so much. It's very hard. I talk with my hands, and I am a little bit Italian, so I'm trying to hold the phone and talk with my hands. Not a very
Hey,
good
it's your
combination.
first live. This is all trial and error. And the great thing about these lives is it's messy. And Tim Miller from The Bulwark did, I believe, his first live today, or maybe I was mistaken, and he was nervous too. Um,
I
but
just
what it
get
was,
I'm so happy to see you that I just kind of want to dance with you, but I have to hold
oh,
my phone steady.
I was so sick when I left Berlin that it's like a flurry to me because I was trying to stay and
I
I could have
remember
stayed, but I just couldn't manage to, like, if I hadn't gotten sick, might still be there. But do you still go in the summers? Do you still have the apartment?
we lost the apartment already some years ago.
Ah.
Everything changed in Berlin when it became the capital. Yeah, so yeah, no, I mean, I had a great run in Berlin, and I pop in every now and then, and maybe with a book, maybe
Oh
I
yes,
will do an
why
event,
don't
maybe.
you?
I'll see, I'll see. I'm organizing one here in Oslo in September, and any ideas anybody has,
The libraries here do readings. All give me your press pack and or whatever you have.
okay.
But it's just a small library. But hey,
Well,
it's a great library. It's
yeah.
where I am because in East Hampton, I am in this little back cottage in the summer, and it's a complete dead zone. So
Mhm.
each day that moves further into the summer, we get about 100 or 120,000 extra people every summer.
Wow,
And
wow.
I cannot get any internet. And I ordered the thing on Amazon, the Solace, and I took it all through Sicily and Italy. I think it even works in the Amazon. It does not work in the back cottage in East Hampton. Like that's how bad it is. So I'm at the library, which is good. I walk here in the mornings and I run
Mhm.
the Daily Dive Zoom, and that is at 1 o'clock. If anybody wants to jump in, I put it in. Ooh, Depth Charge. That's a cool name. We have 9 people listening to us. I
Wow,
wonder.
great. Thank you all.
Yeah. Well, so how can people get the book? Where can you order it?
Well, it's, of course, on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and I think all the regular places. Um, I don't know if I'll be able to hold it and add the link into the chat. I have it, but I don't know how I can do that.
We
But
can do it later because
yeah,
you and I are going to get in our draft folder. I know this all now. We're going to get the video sent to us, and then you
okay.
can restack it as a note with the link and
Oh,
everything.
great, great.
Don't I
Okay,
sound like I know what I'm doing? I don't really, but
Kara, you. That's one thing I always loved about you. You always sounded like you know what you're doing. And I always feel like I'm an imposter, so I love being around people who sound like they know what they're
We
doing.
all feel like imposters. I just can't believe that people that we're this age and we're doing something so technologically kind of daunting. I mean, it's not daunting, but it's not everybody is doing it. So it's a cool place to be. Um, so the thing about Writer's Daily Dive is my husband died in 2020. And I wanted to write his book. He was a trans man and he agreed to let me use everything in his files and his life and to write about if I wanted
Mhm.
to. And so I want to give it to him as a gift. And
Uh,
how to, I couldn't figure out how to stick to this goal. And I wanted to ask you about sticking to, like, a book
oh,
is like a marriage, man. It takes so many years. If you're really writing, it could take 10 years. It could take 5 if you're
it, it
quick.
it took me 14 for this
Yeah.
novel. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and then people always say, "How's your book going?" And you just want to, "Oh,
right.
it's going," and but the thing is, without this daily writing group where other people are meeting with me,
Hmm.
some days, like, because I have depression and then not depression, and then,
Hmm.
and as we get older, like, shit goes wrong. How do you keep that line moving forward? So Writer's Daily Dive was the only way I could figure it out. If I have to
Right.
show up for other people, I'll show up for me. So that was my solution.
Wow, great.
And
That's
so
great.
far, it's kept me alive. Like, I love meeting everybody at 1 o'clock because they've all become friends. And
And
yeah.
you're writing pretty daily. You're
At
writing.
least I am putting my fingers to the keys. Maybe I'm organizing, maybe I am writing notes for the
Mhm,
notes, maybe I am working on chapters. I'm a little
mhm,
bit stalled putting out chapters right now because I'm using Substack as kind of an editing tool. I'm putting material out as a chapter. They're going in sequence,
mhm.
but it's also as a way to see what I have, and then all of it can't be contained in this final book. So, and as usual, I'm doing way too much and making it way too complicated.
Yeah,
So,
but that you can do in later revisions. I
yeah,
mean, write more. It's always easier to write and cut than have
yes.
nothing. to
right.
have.
What I
Yeah.
mean is though, there are like there's Nick's life, there's my life. He's talking to me, I'm talking to him. Um, and then there are the journals
Mhm.
that are sort of a whole separate running piece, which that I kept the year after he died when we were locked down for COVID, because
Right.
COVID lockdown happened 2 weeks after he died. So there was this
Uh,
incredible silence of like 3 years.
uh.
Um, which was lucky and unlucky. But so there's too much in the book, actually. So we'll see.
Yeah, but the Pandora, I think I had 700 pages in one draft, and it,
Oh,
it, it came down to 265. And the Leonardo, I had many, many versions. And you
yeah,
you write- you write more, and then you really find what is this chapter about? What do you really want
yeah,
to say here? How do you keep the stakes up? How do you keep
right,
that the reader wants to continue turning pages?
right.
I mean, while we were editing it the last months, I sent it out for more readers and some people I knew and some beta readers to see if it really had that page turning, and people really can get through it. So I hopefully wrote another page turner. Yeah, because for my other book, I got some letters from writers. I couldn't even stop to pee. I couldn't put your book down. I could, so I mean, I
Oh,
want to.
it was gripping. I remember reading
Thank
pieces of
you.
it in the group in Berlin, and it was really intense. Like it
Yeah,
was, yeah.
yeah. So this one's a different kind of story. It's not such yeah, the other one was more like really traumatic and everything. This is more love story traumatic in a way. Or yeah,
But
and
so,
there's
how did you feel entering this field of fiction for the first time?
well, I won't say it's the first time. It's the first time I have a novel, but when I was younger I wrote a lot of stories. And
Okay.
I wrote a musical too that has all fiction.
Oh, I think I remember you talking about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, it didn't make it to the big world yet, but it's still one of my projects that I hope to get out. I mean, it's all finished. I have all the songs. We did it here in Oslo twice, and
You did?
I did, and I'm going to go to Edinburgh again this August,
Oh,
partly
for the
with the book.
French?
Well, I prefer the international festival. The Fringe
Okay.
is, to be honest, a lot of chaos. But they also have an international festival and a book festival and a film festival. Yeah, there's
Oh, I
there's
didn't
plenty
know.
going. Yeah, it's pretty. It's like being in Brooklyn and Manhattan and London all together and affordable. So, or at least it was a few years ago. I don't know how
Oh,
it will be this
it
time.
sounds like a great place to live if it wasn't so drinky and rainy.
Raining, raining, rainy. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's
I'm
a
on my
beautiful.
way out of the US, by the way, to Europe. So I'm
Okay.
applying for residency first in France because my mom lives there. But
Wow.
I really I've been in Sicily the last 2 winters for a couple
Wow.
months, and I love
Where?
it
Where?
so
Where?
much.
Where in Sicily?
Down in Catania and Ortigia.
Because the book I'm working on now during COVID. Yeah, I'm working on a new memoir called "Italy with Nobody in It." Um, yeah, that's my new
Were
book
you
that I was.
there when
Uh,
France? Yeah, Sandalore Sykes lives, we found out, like 10 miles down the road from where my mother lives. Just
I
we
was
found
I
like
was in
so
Sicily during COVID. We went with our camper. I mean,
where
Sicily.
were you in Sicily?
Well, like towns like Taormina
Carmina?
had nobody in it during COVID. I mean, the big towns, like the really big cities, people were there. But like for example, we lived a lot in Puglia and
Oh,
Matera and all the
unbelievable. Oh, you
old
went to
beautiful towns.
Matera?
Nobody was there. Nobody was there because first of all, I didn't know, a lot of people come, especially to Puglia, only in the summer anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because it was COVID, there were no tourists. And the actual Italians don't live in those old towns. It's just tourists and Airbnbs and restaurants. So
Well,
it
they
was,
live in Ortigia because I was there every
yeah,
winter, and
yeah, yeah.
but I'm about to sell the house here. I'm going to
Wow,
be able to keep the writing cottage for the rest of my
wow,
life. And
wow.
then the further goal is to have an apartment because
Uh,
they're so cheap and wonderful over there, to where people can come in the winter and do a retreat So 3 or 4 places to sleep, invite writers who love to swim and go swim every day in our wetsuits or
I'm
whatever.
coming. I'm coming.
Okay.
I have a wetsuit. I have a
Yeah,
wetsuit.
me too.
Yeah,
Me
yeah.
too. So I learned to
Wow.
swim in the bay here during COVID, and that saved my life. So I've got
Wow.
all the gear. And
Wow.
so it would be the Writer's Daily Dive retreat. So that's
Sounds
sort of
great.
in my head, right? That,
That sounds
yeah.
great. Well, I look forward to, yeah, so I know we're probably coming to an end. So
Yeah, we're coming to an
I
end.
can just have one more little my
Yeah.
little flash of it.
Put it
Yeah.
down just a little bit. The sinking of the Leonardo da Vinci. I can't wait. Are
Yeah.
you going to do an audio version too? Like read it in your voice?
I have what do you think? Should I do it? The only thing I'm afraid of is the Italian words, but I could have somebody coach me. Do you think I would be good enough to do it?
Sure. I love it when authors read their books. I
So I
mean,
have
I'm
that.
doing that on my Substack, like monthly chapters. It's so easy. Well, it's not that easy. You have to get like a pretty okay mic. But I'm recording each one. And then Substack goes straight to Spotify, but it makes a podcast for you. So you could do it chapter by chapter, the sinking of the Leonardo da Vinci, and each month or week put up an audio chapter.
Well, I know we're coming to an end, but I'm gonna maybe ask you about that, Tara.
Okay.
That sounds amazing. Yes.
Okay. It was
Yes.
so great to talk to you.
Yeah,
And
Tara, thank you so much. Yeah.
yeah, I'm so the book sounds amazing. And we're going to Writer's Daily Dive now. It's 1 o'clock. So
Yeah.
anybody who wants to look on the chat, there's the link, not the link, but the number and the passcode. And we'll just be there chatting, and then we write in silence. There's no test. There's nothing to do. You just show up and be on screen with us.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, it was so fun. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.